Flexural deviations are flexural pathologies, which are viewed from the side, and it will distort the foot from front to back. It might be your upright heels, your run-out toe. All of those are created by a conformation that predisposes them to flexural deviations, and it's going to affect how we put the brake over, how much we want to float the heels or keep them from sinking into a deformable surface. Our modifications are going to be on to front to back. And we're going to go into rotational deviations, which are twists as seen from the front or the back. And a twist is just a turn. We simplify it by saying toed in or toed out. Bottom line is that there's all kinds of twists down through the limbs. It can be in a long bone, it can be in a joint space, it can be two twists in the same bone. What we're looking for is a dominant twist. And a dominant twist in the limb will create a diagonal deformation of the hoof, meaning one bulb is pushed in or pushed up or pushed out or something, and the diagonal toe quarter will be pushed out, pushed in, pushed up, some distortion to it. So the bulbs of the heels are going to be the first part that is distorted when you have a diagonal deformation created by a dominant rotational deviation, which is a twist. Dr. Rooney told us years ago that the average foot will twist about 7 degrees every time it breaks over. That foot is going to follow every deviation that's in the limb, every bend, every twist. Somewhere it's going to show up in the movement of the foot. And a horse with a rotational deviation is not going to land both heels square, can't do that. And it's not going to break over at the center of the toe. It's going to break over one side or another. When we're designing a shoe for a rotational deviation or a dominant twist, our modifications are going to be on a diagonal. The heel quarter may be pushed in. So let's start with a heel quarter that's pushed in. If that heel quarter is pushed in, I'm going to want to increase the width of the web in that heel to dissipate the energy over a larger area, not allow it to sink in so much in a deformable surface. And I'm going to want to adjust the breakover or the dimension of the diagonal toe quarter to help that horse out. And be careful with my shaping so that I'm not enhancing a flare in that diagonal. So the first thing we're going to do, there's a lot of ways to get these mechanics, whether you're using inserts, whether you're using pads, or whether you're forging. And just as a guideline, I'm going to show you a simple modification that we'll use. And we're going to increase width of web in this heel. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, this is going to be a collapsed heel, right? You've all seen those, that heel is pushed right in. And so I want the thickest part of the material underneath that viable hoof wall, or where it's still somewhat solid, or hopefully somewhat solid. And then from there out, I'm going to push that out. This horse is susceptible to side bone or an ossification, a hardening of that lateral cartilage in that corner because of the trauma to it. So I want to ease that. I want to put a side bone shoe on before the horse gets side bone. Just ease that, the footfall when it's coming in. I can't change how that horse goes because of the conformation, but I can lessen some of the stresses to it. And we're going to change where breakover is on that shoe. And on the shoe, let's put a rocker in it. So you've seen these horses, especially in the hind limbs, where the foot just at breakover. When the foot is breaking over, the hock will twist out. And that's because of dominant rotational deviations, and there are at least three rotational deviations in that limb that cause it. It could be in the stifle, proximal tarsal joint, and in the fetlock, or those are hinge joints. So that foot has to follow those twists in those joints. And so it's going to twist. And if we make that foot solid to the ground, the collateral ligaments take the damage, right? It's going to put a lot of stress on them. This horse needs to twist. If we take allow them to twist, they're going to do a lot better, in my experience, over time. So, rotational deviations, the dominant rotational deviation will create a diagonal deformation to the hoof, and our modifications will be on a diagonal, and we have to add those to what we found in the flexural deviations, right? And so think about a way that I can make these modifications that aren't going to dissipate or reduce the effectiveness of whatever I did for a flexural deviation. What I want to do is I want to start outside of the crease here. And I'm just going to gently go in there. Small little bites. All I'm doing is making a road map right now. And I'm going to go in to the inside heel check. And I'm going to do a dead stop there. So I'm going to set that hand right down and drive that in. That's my dead stop. Now I have a trail. The idea is to stay in that trail. And so right here in the beginning, I might want to tip my creaser out so I don't destroy the factory crease. Then when I get down in here, I'll start tipping my creaser in so I displace the material towards the inside. I don't fit these shoes full. I fit them to a perimeter fit. And that works for me. And I'm getting down in there. I got quite a bit of width that I want. We go too far and we can cut that shoe right in half. That's not going to be good for our tool or what we're trying to accomplish with the shoe. Crease made. Then I'm going to set down the outside. And this is for a crushed heel. A crushed heel. We're trying to reduce the trauma to that heel as it lands. And by hammering it out here, I'm going to increase width of web. So it's a subtle side bone shoe before they get the side bone. I'm going to park right there for a minute, widen that out. So I'm tapering it from the outside of that crease towards the outside of the shoe. Because it's a diagonal deformation, you'll generally just see from the quarter bend back that's distorted in a hoof like this. In and knock down that side, and for demonstration purposes, for a horse with a dominant rotational deviation or twist in the limb, we're going to do a modification on the other corner. There's a lot of things that you can look at. Look at the wear of the old shoe. Look at the wear of the hoof, right? If the hoof is just trimmed, to help define what's going on with the horse. Dr. Rooney talked to us about the way most horses twist. They twist at least 7 degrees. Well, there's some that twist 20 degrees or more, depending on the amount or the degree of rotational deviation they have. And for demonstration purposes, we're going to put a rocker off the corner here. A rocker. And a rocker, I'm going to bend the shoe down so that we have a more extreme breakover. Let's just say in this scenario that horse is wearing, the breakover point that we're seeing is on that diagonal. It isn't always. This is a guideline. But just for a demonstration and to practice the rocker toe, we're going to put it off the corner on a diagonal for a dominant rotational deviation. Cross tongue here so that I have that diagonal toe quarter up on the anvil. And I'm going to set the shoe on there. I don't want to go inside of the crease. I want to give it a hit right there in that corner. I want to give it a hit right there in that corner. That in that corner, that corner. And so what I'm doing is building a slight ridge behind there. Stay in the same trail, just like with your creaser. You want to stay in that same trail. And we'll find that ridge again. And now I'm going to use the flat side of the hammer and move towards center. Walk back and forth there a couple times. Now my goal or my guideline, what works for me is that rocker is perpendicular to the angle of the hoof wall. Perpendicular to the angle of the hoof wall when I get done. I feel that if I have it too shallow of a rocker, then the hoof wall will scoot over. If I have too tight of a rocker, it's easy to get a pressure necrosis or a sore behind the wall in the laminae behind that. So just it doesn't have to be a lot. Once I get that ridge done, I got the rocker done, I'll clean up the backside right here. It's easy to go too far. Let's not go too far. All I'm doing is cleaning up that backside. And if our shoe has bellied out on us, I'll come behind it and just knock down the inside width of web so that we don't have any sole pressure. That's all. It doesn't take much. In all of these modifications, they're guidelines. You don't have to be able to forge these in. I work with people that have a stall jack and a 4.5-inch grinder, and it's amazing what you can get done with that. They're just basic mechanical features. If you want to do an insert and weld it in there, or if you want to cut part of the shoe out, or if you want to do it with pads, or you want to do it with acrylics, there's all kinds of ways to get the mechanics. And if we don't get stuck on one way, but keep an open mind, there's lots of ways to get it done.